From a purely business perspective, COVID-19 presents a slew of serious and sometimes unprecedented challenges for organizations, cutting across the business environment, including a possible liquidity crunch, global supply chain disruptions, increase in trade barriers, and a shifting consumer mindset. COVID-19 has brought into question the very foundation of the ultra globalized economies that we see around us and anticipates an increase in India's bargaining power with China and US. As the distrust over China increases, India can be a part of multiple economic webs and gain from them. To present her views on the topic now, I invite our first speaker of the session, Dr. Nitin Bhasin, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. Before I formally invite Dr. Niti Bhasin to present her views regarding the topic, I'd like to share a few things regarding Dr. Niti Bhasin. She has a teaching experience of around 17 years, and her areas of research specialize are international business, foreign direct investment, international taxation, foreign trade, multinational corporations, international business, and emerging markets. She has obtained her MPhil and PhD degrees from Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, and she has been a gold medalist in MCOM from Delhi University. She has served Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi, and Shri College of Commerce, University of Delhi under various capacities. She has to her credit 8 books including Indian Financial System, Evolution and Present Structure, FDI in India, Policies, Conditions and Procedures, Monetary Banking and Financial Developments in India. She has published several chapters in edited books. She has published various articles in reputed journals like Sage, Emerald, and Taylor and Francis. She has also delivered invited lectures and keynote address at various national and international seminars, including PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, Government of India. She has also been paper coordinator of the paper on international business for Swayam and EPG Pathshala project under NECT, Ministry of Human Resource and Development, Government of India. She has several honors and awards to her name. Shri Jainaran Vash Prize in 2000, Best Business Academy of the Year Award in 2011, Silver Medal, and Best Paper Award at various national and international conferences. Now, without further delay, I would request Professor Niti Bhasin to kindly grace the session with her deliberation.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Tripathi. I hope I'm audible to everyone. And thank you to the School of Management Studies, Professor Jha, the director, for organizing a very topical issue, really, that everyone is talking about these days. And thanks to Dr. Tripathi also for doing all the coordination with regard to this seminar. And of course, to all the participants, a very good evening. So I have been given 10 minutes actually to put forward my views, out of which 2 minutes I think has gone in my introduction. So let me see how I try to fit in the rest of it and my perspectives on this issue. So without any further delay, I would be talking of things from a macro perspective, really, because we look at things from a macro perspective. This would be followed by, I guess, industry experts who will be able to supplement what I say. So in these 8 to 10 minutes that I'll be talking to all of you, I'm just trying to put things in perspective as to, so everyone is really talking about, reshaping of the global supply chains and where is India standing in all of this and how we can take advantage of this opportunity. Before I come to all of that, so for the uninitiated, what we are actually talking about is the fact that the COVID pandemic has led to a complete disruption of the global supply chains. And we have various examples to support it as well. For example, China, as Professor Jha was mentioning, which is the epicenter of the pandemic, disruption in economic activity in China has actually led to disruptions all over the world because China was an integral part of the global supply chains for a lot of products. So the US suffered because the US pharmaceutical industry was extremely dependent on China for a lot of pharma products. Similarly, the US is also dependent on India for a lot of pharma products. And that is when the US realized that if there is disruption in the pharmaceutical industry in China, then how can it affect US as well? And that so that one example probably set a lot of people thinking that when an integral part of the global supply chain, there is stagnation of economic activity due to any reason whatsoever, then how do you deal with the final product and how do you deal with delivering the final product? So that is the backdrop of what we are actually talking about. And that is what has prompted a lot of countries to start rethinking about their global supply chains. So global supply chains, as all of us understand, means that when we are dealing with a single product, the entire production is not limited to one country, but it is rather spread over a number of countries. And every country is adding value to the product so that by the final, by the time the product reaches the final, the country which has finally added value to the product, it's ready for sale. Now, in all of this, our dependence on the countries which are a part of the global value chain increases. So I won't be talking a lot about these global supply chains because all of us have been hearing about it. Let's come to India. So in all of this aftermath of the pandemic, and we are still dealing with it, it's not really aftermath, what have we learned for India? So India has learned two important lessons in all of this. One is, which the Prime Minister also mentioned in his most recent speech, that we need to develop self-sufficiency in a lot of critical sectors. Now, this is not something which is very new. It had been coming up again and again, not just for India, but for a lot of other countries. But every time a country thinks of becoming self-reliant, so we have experts all over the globe who tell you that, no, this is a form of protectionism. So you should not be really, thinking of self-sufficiency in critical sector because that goes against the principles of free trade. And therefore, under the garb of protectionism, it becomes difficult for a country to really support its argument of self-reliant, of being self-reliant. But that is what the pandemic has taught us now. So the first lesson which we have learned and which a lot of other countries have learned is to become self-reliant in a lot of critical industries. The second lesson, which is particularly for India now, and which a lot of experts would talk about, is how this entire challenge of the pandemic could be an opportunity for India to become a part of or to get integrated into the global supply chain. Now, conventionally, India has not been a very important player of the global supply chain. So if we look at the statistics of the past few years, we'll know that we don't figure amongst the top 20. So, of course, there are problems which are related to large-scale production in India. The subsequent speakers who are directly dealing with supply chain would probably be able to point out those problems in a more detailed manner. But from whatever we have learned so far, there is a problem of scale, cost, and efficiency as far as exporting and as far as becoming a part of the global value chain is concerned. So with those problems, India could never really achieve a position where you, like China, where you could be a very important part of the global value chain. So that is how things stood at the moment. They stand at the moment. Now, with this pandemic, the country, the leadership has started rethinking that because there is an anti-China sentiment and because there is a disruption of activity in China, could we look at it as an opportunity for India where we can position ourselves as an alternative to China and try to become a part of the reshaped global supply chain? So that is a question which are, on which there is a lot of discussion and a lot of brainstorming which is going on. Now, while there is no doubt about the fact that it is an opportunity, the question is that there are a lot of challenges in this opportunity. And so what we actually need to brainstorm is about the fact that how do we deal with these challenges? And therefore, how do we capitalize on this particular opportunity which has emerged in times of crisis? So just 2 or 3 things which I would like to mention here. So this the Prime Minister's self-reliant India vision that we are talking about, one, we need, so the intent is clear. It's not just about protecting the economy, it's more about um, it's more about positioning India as a global player. So there is it's quite a paradox that we are actually linking protectionism with globalization here. Now, because this particular webinar is about technology, well, I'm not an expert on technology really, but from a macro perspective, one or two insights which I can share here is India has got certain characteristics which can supplement this particular objective of getting integrated into the global supply chain. So, of course, on one side, we have got challenges, which are challenges of scale, which are challenges of cost, which are challenges of efficiency. But then what do we have on the positive side? So, if we try to examine that, on the positive, we have a very thriving startup ecosystem. So we are slowly becoming amongst the top three, or somewhere in the top three we are in the world in terms of being a startup hub in the country. Secondly, we have a policy framework which is conducive to innovation and technology. So you have got various schemes of the government, like you have the Atal Innovation Mission, you have the Startup India program, and you have so many more, which are aimed at promoting entrepreneurship and which are aimed at promoting innovation. And they are working quite well in that direction as well. Then another factor which is a positive for India is we are also slowly moving up the Global Innovation Index as well. So that means we are doing pretty good in terms of innovation. So when we are doing good in terms of entrepreneurship, there is a policy framework for innovation. There are startups which are coming with extremely successful business models, which can be made, commercial on a very large scale over a period of time. Then what is it that is stopping us from reaching our destination? So in the analysis which I was trying to do, one or two things which come up is one aspect which relates to the financial aspect. We do not have enough investors to support these technologies, to support these startups in a way that they can become global players. So if you look at the firms which try to invest, there are a lot of Chinese firms which are investing in Indian startups. So Alibaba, Tencent, these are firms which are investing in Indian startups, which means that there is some dearth of domestic capital, and that is the reason why we are resorting to these Chinese firms. So the government therefore decides that in the revised FDI policy, we are going to screen these investors. So one, I think, is that aspect which needs to be addressed. If we have sufficient backing in terms of financing, we have an opportunity to really capitalize on these startups. And the other would be a deeper penetration of technology. A deeper penetration of technology would mean that whatever technology these startups or these innovations are innovation index that we are talking about, it should spread across the length and breadth of the country. And that can be done through the MSME sector. MSME sector, which is the backbone of the country, if we are able to do deeper penetration of this technology, then a lot of firms in India can have ownership advantages in terms of technology. Well, so I don't know, I guess I have very little time, so I'll just try to close here in the sense that, see, whatever I have read over a period of time, it says that technology is no longer the legacy of the developed world. And in the recent past, a lot of developing countries have come up with a lot of innovations, and India particularly, because we have a head start in services sector as well. So we are doing a lot of innovation in the IT sector, in artificial intelligence. There is a lot of technology. What we need to do is commercialize this technology, and number two, finance it well, so that there could be a long-term scaling of all these things which can be done. So I guess if I look at the clock, my time is up. There is probably a lot more which I could have said, but I leave it to the other speakers who are industry experts, and I'm sure they have a lot to contribute. So thank you very much, all of you, and I look forward to questions, if any, at a later point in time. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much,